Today's episode is a small business spotlight. So, I love to do podcast episodes where I help you troubleshoot somewhere where you're stuck. And today is another great one featuring Jennifer Primeaux. She's a licensed mental health therapist in Kansas where she runs a full-time private practice. And she recently created an online business helping other therapists bankroll their finances by teaching smart money habits for business and personal finances. And what we're talking about today is a couple of different things. One is she has a lead magnet that she's kind of been putting out there. But she's not getting a lot of traction from it, and she doesn't really know if it's working or what she should do with it. And the other piece to that is that every single person she talks to get ideas, thoughts, feedback, has a different opinion about what it should be, how it should be done, and she's feeling paralyzed and not moving forward. And I think there's a great lesson in this for all of you, because we all do it. I do it the same. As you start to go into an online business, or as you start to grow your business, as you start to put yourself out there more, it's a little bit terrifying, and you want to take everybody's feedback and advice. But at a certain point, you just need to rip off the Band-Aid, get out there, and do the dang thing. And not everybody's going to love it, and that's okay. As long as you know that what you're doing is, important, impactful, and getting, your message, your product, your service out there to more folks. So I'm really excited about this episode. I think even if you don't have a lead magnet, maybe you'll learn some things about setting one up. And I love talking email marketing, but I just think there's a big lesson in here for everyone as well on, being true to yourself, your business, and what you want to accomplish and getting it done no matter what. But before we jump into that, this episode is brought to you by my 30-day website roadmap. This roadmap gives you all of the things that you need to consider before doing a website or redesigning, or even just to take a look at what your website has and if it's performing the best it can be. Are there other things that you can be implementing that would make it stronger and more impactful for your audience? And we're in the last quarter of the year, so now's the perfect time to be doing an audit of your website, and the 30-day roadmap is a great way to get started. So all you have to do to get this freebie is head on over to thefirstclick.net/30 days. You can download it and you can get started with it right away. Let's get to the episode. You're listening to the Digital Marketing Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Bedell-Mulhern, and each week I bring you tips from myself and other experts, as well as hot seats with small business owners and entrepreneurs to demystify digital marketing and get you on your way to generating more leads and growing your business. Hey guys, I have a wonderful special guest with me today, Jennifer. Jennifer, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
And today is one of those days where we troubleshoot with a small business owner on something that they're stuck. So if you guys want to participate in that, we'll have more information on that at the end of this episode. But Jennifer, why don't you kind of briefly explain your business? And I know we're talking about lead magnets and emails. So maybe a little bit about your business and what your lead magnet is and kind of where you're stuck.
Sure. So my name is Jennifer Primeaux, and I have Smart Money Practice, and this is kind of a new venture for me. And so I'm kind of right at the beginning stages where I am trying to create a lead magnet that I want to capture people's email addresses, to then have them on my list. And so, but I have been really stuck on my lead magnet probably for about the last 3 months. And so I want some help with how to create a really good lead magnet that I feel really confident in sharing with people.
Awesome. And I think that's great. And for those of you who are newbies and don't know, a lead magnet is something that you provide on your website on your website that provides value to your audience. And in exchange for them getting that value, you get their email address so that you can continue to nurture them. So definitely a big fan. I think it's super smart. That's one of the things that you're starting to do from the beginning. Because growing your email list, I'm a huge, huge fan of that. Yes. So who is your ideal audience and what is your lead magnet?
So my ideal audience are therapists that are either going to go into private practice or that are already in private practice and that they want to get better with their finances. And it could be whether it's personal finances or business finances. But one of the things with when people go to school to be a therapist, they maybe spend one class hour on like business, like not just expenses, but just how to run a business.
Yeah.
We learn all about like how to be a therapist, but then the whole business side is just kind of left to good luck when you get out there.
And can you confirm to folks what kind of therapist you're talking about?
Yeah. Mental health therapist.
Yes. Okay. Just want to make sure that's clear.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's a problem in a lot of things. I know, my brother, who's my business partner, went to art school, and they don't teach them. They teach them how to be amazing photographers, but they don't teach them how to actually turn that into a business.
Right.
So
exactly.
That's awesome that you're doing what you're doing. So then your lead magnet provides what value?
Oh, okay. So right now, I have one about basically kind of like how to calculate expenses. So for example, like if someone is looking to rent an office and they're not sure, like how much is this office, is this worth the office amount that I pay for it? So like if somebody spends, let's say $300 on an office, like how many sessions is that going to take for me to make up that cost? Whereas if they're spending $750 a month, they're going to have to see a lot more clients just to even pay for the office itself.
Okay. So, what's the specific title of it?
So I have like right now the title, I have it be like calculating expenses.
Okay. And then what do you think is the biggest problem that you solve or for your existing clients? Because are you trying to get them into one-on-one coaching with you, or do you have a course or a program? So right now, because I'm at the very, very beginning stages, my plan is to create a course and then eventually like have that go into a membership. I've played around with the idea of doing like one-on-one coaching, but I think that would be probably like encompassed within the membership. Yeah. Okay. That makes a ton of sense. Okay. So what I would say off the bat, your title doesn't sound very exciting.
Okay.
And
that's okay. No, that's totally fine to understand. Like
calculating expenses is totally something that we all need. And I will say as a business owner, financials are something that I have avoided like no other, which I intellectually know is not smart for growth of my business. But it's not something that I know I enjoy doing, nor do I want to pay attention to, because especially at the beginning of stages of your business, if you're talking about things like renting space, right? Financials are a scary thing because you don't know if you're going to make any money anyway.
Exactly. Yes. And that's understandable. Like what you're saying is like, it could almost kind of scare somebody off.
Yeah. And so I think this is a good lesson for everybody, just in that we tend to understand what we do at such a high level that it's hard we don't break it down to kind of its most basic fundamentals. And the great thing about a freebie is that it can be so basic for your audience. And so your freebie might almost be more complicated than what it needs to be. Like it could be something so basic as 7 things to consider when starting your practice, or 7 financial mistakes I see when people start a practice, something like that just literally gives them some basic tips, still provides value, but is going to have them then going, okay, I didn't know about these 3-4 things. I knew about these 2, so I feel pretty good about myself. She opened my eyes to XYZ. Now I want to dive deeper.
So I have a question for you on that. So like, you know how we almost want to like make it into a positive. So if we said 7 financial mistakes, that like, would that scare somebody off? And should we like change the wording to 7 things you want to pay attention to when opening a private practice?
Totally. Or like 7 things I wish I knew, or 7 things to know before, I don't know. Yeah, totally. Okay. If you want to spit into a positive, that's totally fine. And it could also be like, are most of your students, do you think, starting like your to-be students, would they be starting a practice? Would they be entering? Like, are you hitting people as they're kind of coming out with their degree and just starting out? Because I'm wondering too, if there's an audience of therapists that are going and entering into a practice as well. So
so basically the people that are either just starting out, or are they kind of like already in?
Well, I mean, I think because I know I don't know a lot about how the structure is with therapists offices, but sometimes it's a group of people that come together to share space. Sometimes it's somebody who owns the practice and then contracts out to other therapists. So, I mean, is there conversation there as well, as far as contract negotiations or like things to like, what are the expenses that you're not considering that you're going to have to spend?
Okay. Right. Absolutely. Like there's so many different ways, like somebody can go into private practice. And so that's why it also, I guess, where I need to get clear on, is my avatar like finishing school and they're now going into private practice? Are they going solo into private practice, or are they going into a group practice, which is kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. I think honing in on that will really help you define what your lead magnet is, and who it serves. And I think it's important. I know you don't have your course or your membership yet, but I think it's important to kind of start to consider, what types of content that's going to be, so that you can start to develop your list with the right people.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So you mentioned that you struggle with shiny object syndrome and getting your lead magnet out there. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Okay, so because like making a lead magnet is brand new to me, I have I've kind of like created a lead magnet before, and then I put it out to like a group of people that have made lead magnets, and they've been doing this for a long time. And then they're like, oh, but you should change this. And so then I'm like, okay. And so then I go back and I change it, and then I put it back out to that group again. And then they're like, oh, but maybe you should do this. And so then I get like so like overwhelmed with like, well, but these guys have been doing it way longer than I have. I really have no idea what I'm doing. So like, how can I kind of like follow their advice and make sure that I'm making the best lead magnet that I can? But then I got stuck. And I mean, literally, it's been about 3 months that my lead magnet has just been kind of there, but I'm not promoting it.
Okay. Well, here's what I'm going to say first is that you're doing it.
Yes.
So first of all, that's good. And so don't stress about the perfection of it. That stops so many of us in so many places. Because when you develop a lead magnet, it's all about testing. So we've had several. We finally found one that really seems to work well. It converts well on ads. The open rates of our email sequence are good. The content is good. We feel good about it. It's taken me 1.5 years to get there. And so you can't know the quality and the value of your lead magnet until you put it out there and start testing.
Okay.
And I mean, is it the content that they're asking you to make changes on, the design? Like, what is?
Both. I think a lot of it is more about the content of it, because I think that it's not really that clear. Which makes a lot of sense, because if I'm not being clear, even who my avatar is, then it's going to come across that way in the lead magnet that I'm not being very clear either.
Right. So I think, step one for you is definitely defining that ICA and then defining what your lead magnet is. And I will just say, dumb it down. I say this to everybody. And I know it sounds maybe a little bit condescending, but dumb it down, like dumb everything down that you're doing, because I guarantee you're probably giving them more information than what they need. But then when it comes to putting it out there and promoting it, like until you start promoting it and testing it, you're not going to know if it works or not. And so you just need to get it out there. Like, even it, I think I want to say it was on Amy Porterfield's podcast, and it was, what's her name from the life coach? I'll have to find it. I'll link it up in the show notes. But she did this whole podcast about doing B- work. Like we always want everything to be perfect and A+ work. But if you just do B- work, you're still doing better than what most people are putting out there.
Okay. I think I know which one you're talking about. I can't remember her name either.
I know. I can never remember her name. She's awesome. But anyway, I want to challenge you to not be struggling with perfection here, because I think the core of what you're talking about and what you're helping people do is really strong. And so spending some time to refine who you want to reach and making sure that your title is really strong will get you a good way. So you have it on your website.
Yes.
And then do you have like an onboarding email sequence that goes automatically with that?
I have right now, because that's my next step.
Okay.
Is to basically get the lead magnet, like where I feel really confident about it, or at least confident enough I feel like I'm going to promote it, and then do kind of the email sequence for it. And so right now I have where it will just automatically send them the lead magnet, but it doesn't put them into like a funnel after that.
Okay. So yeah, I would say your next step then would be to create like a 2 or 3 email welcome sequence.
Okay.
And then do you have plans then for consistent content?
Right now, I do like a Facebook Live every week on Wednesdays.
Okay.
So that's right now my consistency that I do have in place. But I do want to keep that going, but then also like do the email sequences.
Okay. So the great place to start there, that's awesome. If you're doing lives every Wednesday, that's awesome. I would just have that be your email. So maybe on Thursday, that's the content that you send your email to your email list every week, and just reference what you talked about in that and link back to that Facebook video.
Okay.
So you're not having to create really more content. But the big thing is if you've got a lead magnet out there and you start promoting it and you get email lists and then they don't hear anything from you, you're going to lose that opportunity for engagement.
Right.
So you might as well send them somewhere.
Okay.
So then how are you making money off your business currently then?
So I am not. I make a joke that this is my volunteer position.
I love it.
I myself am a therapist, so that's why I chose to be a therapist. So right now, my private practice helps me fund my online business that I'm creating.
Got it. So you're just kind of building that foundation, building your audience. And then do you have a goal for a timeline for when your course will launch?
So I don't right now. I'm actually going to be on maternity leave starting in November. And so
congratulations.
Thank you. So I figured, and being a brand new mom, I'm like, that's either going to be a really great time to work on this or a really horrible time to work on this.
Yeah. Depends on how well that baby sleeps.
Exactly. So it'll be interesting how all of that ends up playing out. But I guess I'm flexible. Like I know I want to do it probably, within the next like couple months, but I'm also definitely going to be flexible on this whole thing because I can always go and do my private practice stuff too. That's not a problem.
Okay, cool. Well, I love this. And this is a good lesson too for people in taking time and building your audience. It's super valuable. So I think it's really smart that you started doing that now. Yeah. So I think really just refining who you want to serve and knocking in that content on that lead magnet. And then it seems like you'll be locked and loaded and ready to go.
Yes.
Do you have any other questions regarding like how you would promote or what to do with people once they're on your list?
I think it would be helpful to know kind of how to promote it. Right now, because I'm basically just promoting like the free like Facebook group that I have. Yeah. I try to go and find like other therapy groups that, when they're doing like their marketing day, like I'll throw up my website on there, but also kind of how best to, do I then, I guess in this way, I could also start promoting the lead magnet once I get that all established. But yeah, kind of some tips on where I can promote it or how to promote it. Would Facebook ads be a good suggestion?
Yeah. So we run traffic ads to a blog post. Right now we're in launch mode. Okay. So we're running everything to sales pages. But by the time this podcast goes out, we'll be back into kind of just regular mode.
Yes.
That's a technical term.
Yes.
And so we'll be running traffic ads to either a podcast with show notes or an existing blog post we have that has the lead magnet on it. Okay. Because they're cheaper than conversion ads. So conversion ads you run, when somebody completes that sign up, and those are more expensive. So we're trying traffic ads right now. And and then we have a pop-up on our website that comes up that has the option for people to download. And then, like you said, we share it everywhere we possibly can in groups, and things like that. The other piece, that I'm curious about as you start to develop your content and then start to get into promotion mode would be if there's people that you've worked with, even if you haven't been paid for it. So if you've worked within your own practice or with some friends or other colleagues, I should say, so that you can start to get results and share that information as well.
Okay. Right. And I haven't specifically worked with anybody on this, but there are people that, as I've been kind of like putting it out there, this is what I'm doing, like their ears perk up and they're like, oh, you do what? And so then I invite them like into the group. And then some of them are even more excited. Like when I told them kind of like my background of why finances are interesting to me, because it was about like significant student loan debt. They were like, oh, tell me more.
Yeah.
So that's something that is also, I'm paying particular attention to with, that's going to be part of also the content that I share too, is the student loans and what to do with them. And
that's great. Well, because I assume that there's professional associations that you all are a part of.
Yes.
So when it comes back to promoting your lead magnet, to have those folks that have already worked with you, learned from you, gotten results from you, even if it's just from your lead magnet or if it's just from your private Facebook group, having them share it on your behalf is a great way to get that promotion, because it feels, especially because it's money and it's a personal thing. So if you can have some of those people saying, I had this conversation and this is what I learned from it, and I'm already seeing changes in paying off my student loan debt, like who's not going to want to
who's not going to want to know about that?
Yeah. Right. So there's power in that third party conversation.
Okay. Awesome.
And it's always better to hear from somebody else, hey, you should sign up for this, or you should watch this training, because then it feels more like, okay, well, if they got value out of it, then I'm willing to give up my email address for it. I think people are starting to get, or are, kind of numb to the whole, okay, well, yeah, I'll give you my email address, I'm going to unsubscribe tomorrow. And that's not what we want, right? We want people that are like, okay, well, I know this is valuable, I'm going to check it out, and I'm going to then continue to stay in touch with what she's doing. Absolutely.
Yeah. There's definitely like not peer support, but kind of like that,
it's like social proof.
Yes, there you go. That's what it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you've got a lot of good things in place. I would not worry so much about what everybody else thinks of your design and content, because until you get it out there and test, you don't know.
Okay. All right. And when you say like testing it, so like I put it out there, and then like, how do I basically test it after that?
So once you start promoting, it's more about really taking a look at the conversion. So how many people are landing on that page that has or how many people are, if it's a landing page, what do you use for your distribution for your lead magnet? You MailChimp or?
Yes, MailChimp.
Yeah. So then is it on your website, or is it a separate landing page form within MailChimp?
It's on the website.
Okay. So you'll want to just take a look at then your Google Analytics to see how many people are landing on your website versus how many people are signing up.
Okay.
That's one way you can track. And then as you're doing Facebook ads, it's the same thing. Like, what's the traffic that's landing on that page versus the people that are signing up and then tracking the open rates and the people that are sticking around. It's a little bit easier with Facebook ads to a certain extent because you can really test the copy. But then it's also, just playing with a couple different titles. So maybe if you have a title that you use for a few months, you switch it out, or like even testing titles in your email, in your existing email list.
Okay.
Or like you said, if you pop it up into Facebook groups, maybe playing with a couple different titles in there, even though you don't change the name of your lead magnet, you can play with language and see kind of when then you get spikes in people signing up. And then once you get a little bit of a list, or once you have people, how many people are in your Facebook group?
I have about 20 people right now.
Okay.
I also have like about 50 people on my business page, and I was kind of waiting to like build that up more before I like purposely invite them over to the group.
Oh no, just invite them. I would invite them all the time, because people are, like organic reach on Facebook is crap. So people are not seeing it all that often. So I don't think it will take them a few times before they actually switch over. But what's great about your Facebook group is you can really use them as market research too and say, hey guys, I'm developing this freebie. I can't wait to get it to you. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's some title ideas that I'm thinking. And, if they're already there and they already like you, like they're going to give you feedback and say, okay, well, we would love to learn more about this. And so don't be afraid to ask and poll your existing audience for their thoughts and feedback. It's going to help you tremendously, and especially when it comes to titles and subject matter.
Okay. Sounds awesome.
Yeah. All good things. I love that you're doing it this way because I did not do it this way. And let me tell you, like I am in launch mode while building my list, and it is exhausting, and we're powering through and we're getting it done. But I think if you have the opportunity to do it this way, like that's a great lesson for everybody.
Yes. And I really took the advice that it was given to me that like, make sure that you have, like a fairly decent size, like list or audience before you launch, because if you launch, and it's very small, while it can be done, you're not going to have as good of results and you might kind of feel deflated after that.
Yeah. I mean, it totally can be done. Our enrollment and our membership is not going to be crazy high this launch, but that was our expectation, right? So it's all about setting the expectation and what is it that you're trying to go after.
Definitely.
So that's great. Well, any other questions about, your lead magnet or email marketing?
I'm trying to think. Because I feel like the lead magnet is fairly clear. I'm trying to think if there's anything like within that, because I'm thinking kind of what you'd mentioned about like the, 7 things I wish I'd known. I think that sounds like a good kind of avenue to go in.
Well, and your student debt one, I mean, especially if you want to target those that are just coming out of college.
Yes.
That one could
almost be like a second lead magnet.
You could have that as a secondary lead magnet. Yep.
Okay. Do you ever recommend having 2 lead magnets?
So, I mean, I like to keep it simple when you're first getting started. So we have our main one. We do have some smaller ones that we use for specific topics. I think I would hone in on your ICA first.
Okay.
Pick that primary, test it, make sure it's working for you before you add on another one. And then pay attention to the topics that you're talking about in your Facebook Lives. Are there core elements that you can kind of categorize so that you maybe have 2 or 3 different lead magnets so that every Facebook Live you have, that's another way to promote. You can say, hey, if you want more information, go to this page and download this freebie, which will give you more information. But I wouldn't start out with more than one until one's working, and then kind of layer from there.
Okay. So like when you do start to layer it and you, for example, you have like the Facebook Live, you have made a lead magnet for it. Then when you put it on your website, like, I guess I'm trying to like envision in my head, like how that goes with like the logistics of it.
So I always have our main call to action our main lead magnet is always our pop-up, and that's the one that's everywhere. And then our other ones that are secondary might show up on specific blog posts or podcast show notes where that makes sense. So like we have one that's 7 local SEO strategies to implement today. We have one that's our 30-day website roadmap, which is our main one. We have an ideal customer workbook. So, I mean, they're very, very different. So our main one really encompasses our sales funnel, right? Because I'll give you all my secrets. We want you to go from 30-day roadmap into, we have a workbook that we then want you to buy, into our membership, into our course, right? Like that's kind of our step up. And all of those make complete sense as far as messaging goes. So the other ones that we have are just for us to provide additional value and get them on our email list so that we can continue to have conversation and nurture them. But our main core one is the one that's everywhere.
Okay. All right. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Because you don't want to give people too many things to do in one spot. You don't want to confuse them.
Exactly. And that's what I was kind of like trying to figure out, because I'm also just in my head, I'm getting confused, just like, okay, well, I have like MailChimp and it's like set up to like provide that lead magnet, but then, you like almost like you do like a separate page, or like you mentioned, like the blog post or the podcast show notes. And then that's when you kind of insert the link that you would need to then send them the lead magnet.
Yeah. And you might want to think about, I don't know if you're doing this already, but you might want to think about taking your Facebook Lives, because you can embed those on your website and then just do a quick little synopsis about what that video is about. Because then you can stick those lead magnets in there as well. Now you don't have to write a separate blog. you can still have a blog with content you're already creating and repurpose it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I did not know about embedding like the Facebook lives. Okay.
Yeah. Might as well. If you're doing it, you might as well put it in as many places as you can.
Right. Exactly. Yes. I love the idea of repurposing.
Yeah. Because a lot of times too, you can download those videos and upload them to LinkedIn as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think we gave you enough to chew on.
Yes, absolutely.
But Jennifer, I love what you do. And I think there's probably a lot of people that are listening that might be able to benefit from some of your services. I don't know if we have a lot of therapists, but I'm sure they know somebody who could use the help. So if people want to find out more about you and kind of follow along with you as you do this, how do they learn more about you?
So I am at smartmoneypractice.com, and also the Facebook group is also Smart Money Practice.
Awesome. Well, that makes it easy.
Yes.
And we'll link all that up in the show notes. And, we'll have that link to your website so people can see what the lead magnet looks like now and hopefully get inspired to do their own, because I know a lot of you don't have them. But I appreciate you being open and coming on and sharing about your business.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And good luck with the little one.
Thank you. I will need it.
It's very exciting.
Thanks.
I want to say thank you again to Jennifer for showing up on the podcast today, talking so openly about her business and allowing us to help her troubleshoot. And if you want to be a part of one of these episodes, all you have to do is head on over to The First Click Marketing on Facebook or Instagram and drop us a message, and we'll be happy to chat with you and kind of see where you're stuck and if it's something that we might be able to help you with on the podcast. It's super simple, super fun, and these are some of my favorites to record. While we're at it, if you're loving these episodes too, just as much as I do, I would love it if you would subscribe wherever you listen. That way you won't miss out on a single episode. They come out every Tuesday, and they're one of my favorite things to do in my business. So I hope you're enjoying them, and thank you so much for being a listener, and we'll see you next week.